What is up, Dodgers Nation? D-Mac here, and I'm joined by the lead editor of Dodgers Nation. You know him, you love him. The great Noah Cameras joining us. And then to my right, Noise by Noel Sanchez, the Dodgers Nation social media guru. He handles our Instagram, our X, all the social media stuff. You see it is from Noel. And we are here to talk about the 2025 Dodgers. The Dodgers looking to repeat for the first time since the 2000 Yankees, the first time in the National League since the 1970s Reds. This Dodgers team has a chance to do something special. And before we get into the bold predictions and our win totals predictions, our hot takes for the 2025 season, just the outlook of this team, I think the thing that I take away most from the offseason is you took a team that won 98 games, had the best record in baseball, won the World Series, and they got better. They added more talent to the bullpen. You added Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates. You strengthened that side. The offense added Michael Conforto, but also brought back Teoscar Hernandez. You look at starting pitching, though. That is where you took an existing strength with Tyler Glasnow and Yamamoto and Otani coming back, and you added a two-time Cy Young Award winner in Blake Snell. You have the top prospect in baseball in Roki Sasaki. I think when you look at this team, Buster Olney was on the show a couple weeks ago, and he told me that this is the most aggressive he's ever seen a team be coming off a World Series win. Noah, just what is your outlook of this team, and just kind of how do you summarize these offseason additions? And do you think that this team has a chance to be that much better than the 2024 Dodgers?
Yeah, I mean, this is the rich getting richer, which is not something you say often after a team, like you said, wins the World Series. So it's hard to imagine that this team is better, but on paper, they are better. And they were way injured, especially at the end of last season. And, you know, if they're healthier, they would have been better this year anyway without the addition. So it is hard to say that a team that just won the World Series got better. But at the end of the day, they won less than 100 games last year. And you kind of have higher expectations for this team in the regular season. And then, of course, you just hope they kind of keep that in the postseason. But yes, on paper, this team is better, and that is just not fair for the rest of baseball.
Absolutely. And Noel, I mean, we spent all offseason doing the show, the rumors every single day. Sometimes they got tiresome talking about Teoscar and Roki and Blake Snell. And I always talk about on the show is we only talk about it when there is a higher than 0% chance they're going to land those guys. They essentially got all their plan A's this offseason. Of the guys they signed, who really sticks out to you? We know you love Teo, but you got Roki, you got Blake Snell, you got Tanner Scott. You talked to Kirby Yates recently. I think that's a sleeper for someone that can contribute to this team. Just kind of what sticks out for what they did this offseason to you?
Yeah, it was super incredible. I mean, going to all the offseason events, going to especially the Dodgers I Love LA community tour, you saw all the guys in uniform. You saw all of them really excited to join this new culture, this championship culture. I think off the top of my head, I got to go with Blake Snell. I mean, he was one of the number one or number two best option in terms of free agent starting pitchers. So to add that to headline your starting rotation, he's going to be pitching in the Dodgers home opener. It's going to be a special sight. Got to go with him right off the bat. The Dodgers already were looking to add to that starting rotation. We saw it get decimated by injuries last season, and they still made their way through the postseason, still got the final job done. So definitely going to go with Blake Snell for that one.
Yeah, also, I just was with Snell. I don't think I've ever seen someone more excited to be a Dodger than Blake Snell right now. I mean, he immediately broke his own news with that, Instagram post. He has not stopped talking about being Kershaw. He hasn't stopped smiling really since he got here. So, I mean, I think that'll even elevate his play because he's just so excited to be on this team.
Yeah, thankfully you don't have Kevin Cash managing the Dodgers, and he's not going to take the ball out of his hands, hopefully, when he's in the big spot.
Austin Barnes.
He doesn't have to face Austin Barnes, too. And I think Austin Barnes gave his soul back to him, which I think is going to complete him. But yeah, you mentioned Blake Snell. We'll talk about him a couple times during this roundtable. I don't think it's talked about enough because of the team that he was on. But down the stretch, last 84 innings pitched, had a 2.79 ERA to finish the season. I mean, he was absolutely fantastic. He is one of, if not the best, second half pitchers in the history of Major League Baseball. Has a career 3.33 postseason ERA in 11 postseason games. I think that was the focus for them. You had guys like Max Fried out there and Corbin Burns out there. Some guys that were higher on some pitchers' lists for offseason free agents. Blake Snell was my number one guy just because when he's on, he's absolutely filthy. And we'll talk about him a couple times during this show. But you look at this team, I think the first thing you have to kind of bring up is the bullseye that's going to be on this team's back and how difficult it is to win in Major League Baseball. I looked it up a couple days ago. I wanted to see what were the Golden State Warriors' odds of winning the championship after they brought in KD. They were minus 150. That is incredibly high. They were a minus 150 to win the NBA championship. The Dodgers, considering the talent that they have, Shohei Otani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, the list goes on. Future Hall of Famers, all-stars, right? They're a plus 400 to open up the season, right? That basically gives you a 22% chance of winning the World Series. So for everyone that thinks that the Dodgers are just going to go full-blown juggernaut and just roll through this season and sweep their way to a World Series, it's not that easy because it's Major League Baseball, and that's why it's the most difficult sport to repeat. So I think that's like kind of one of those things, like, I don't know about you, like, yes, we're already 2 games into the season. The Dodgers are on pace to win 162 games. But I'm almost looking forward to a little bit that first little losing streak, that first slide, just to kind of like fall down to earth a little bit and realize that this is going to be a journey to try to repeat.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like as long as the Dodgers stay undefeated, it's always going to be the Dodgers are on pace to go once.
Yeah,
like it's really one of those things. Like until they lose, like I said, have a little skid, go through some adversity. It'll definitely be good because at the end of the day, the expectations are so sky high. And it's one of those things where, like you said, the target on their back. Anytime the Dodgers lose, every single opposing fan base will just be very excited to kind of rub it in their face. If they lose a series, I mean, God forbid they get swept. I mean, those kind of, like, that's going to be rubbed in their faces. So it'll definitely be good for them to go through some of that adversity because that'll lower the expectations. But at the same time, the Dodgers always have those expectations, whether they won the World Series last year or not. People would think that they were going to be the best team, have the expectations because they spent all the money, blah, blah, blah. So it's always going to be one of those things. And they always talk about having the target on their back, which is why Dave Roberts kind of gave that message this year. It was, what was it? Be the hunter, not the hunted. Have that aggressive approach. And if they can do that, then I don't think they'll ever really be bothered with the expectations.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, the bullseye on their back. And I think of what Mookie Betts said last season about how the Dodgers are every team's World Series.
And everyone made
I don't
fun
think
of
that
them.
was true last year. I don't think it was true last year. I think it's true this year because they've actually won that full 162 game regular season plus postseason World Series plus the parade. And then you just made fans that were already mad even more mad, right? The Los Angeles deferrals.
You get
Snell.
Roki Sasaki.
I think Roki's the one that pissed everyone off.
Roki, everyone
right?
is just,
because you add someone that's a $200, $300 million pitcher and you get him for less than $10 million. And he's someone that could be the best pitcher in the league for a long time. Now, looking at these kind of quick hitter stuff, we'll kind of go back and forth with this. You got to start with the NL West. And the goal is to win the division. I don't care what anyone says. I'm not of the mindset of, okay, you can win as the wild card. You can win with 90 wins. Sure, you can, but that doesn't mean it gives you the best chance to do so. Great teams in the regular season, when it comes to win differential, when it comes to win totals, those are the teams that typically go far in the postseason. I mean, for every 2018 Red Sox, sure, you're going to see a 98 Marlins, right? You're going to see a 2003 Marlins. But for this team to be as process-oriented as they are, they will be disgusted if they're not winning this division. And we saw back in 2021 when they fell a game shy of winning the division for the Giants that season, they had to play in the wild card game, which led to them having to play the Giants. And that 5-game series compromised them in the NLCS that year, and they were trying to repeat.
And they were playing important baseball to the end, and then Max Muncy gets hurt.
And then Max Scherzer.
Max Muncy gets hurt because they're playing important baseball on that, those last days. So I mean, a lot of it too. And then that 5-game series took it all out of them. So I'm absolutely with you.
So I think that's kind of the focus is like, you're going to have a very rigorous season because you are the Dodgers with a capital D, like Stan Katz like to say on our show, right? And you're going to have those expectations, but giving yourself a cushion, having a comfortable lead in your division, I think is going to go a long way because this team, I don't like, no one's talking, what no one's talking about anymore is the stretch of games in between the NLDS and it's funny how just one season, it's over. We're not talking about it, right?
All of a sudden, nobody cares about that 5-day layoff.
Right? That's how quickly it is. That's why I was saying it's such a small sample size. When I do look at this division, I have the Dodgers. They're winning the division. Okay, hot take there. Dodger guy picks the Dodgers to win the NL West. Nothing to see here. But the Diamondbacks are a team that I think is going to leapfrog the Padres this season. The Padres, let's just be honest, they are not the same when it comes to spending. Since the passing away of Peter Seidler, you are in a position where Dylan Cease might even get traded at some point. I mean, we don't know what is going to be the reality of that team. Xander Bogaerts is regressing. I think Manny Machado is going to regress. You still have Joe Musgrove is going to be out for significant time. I think also too, just the blow of, you talk about a World Series hangover. I think blowing a 2-1 lead to the Dodgers, when I know this hurts Padres fans every time I say this, the Padres were going to win the World Series. They beat the Dodgers. there is actually something in their trophy case other than oxygen now down in San Diego, right? I think the Diamondbacks, I got to give them credit for what they did this offseason, adding to an already impressive rotation, getting Corbin Burns, someone that I've loved for a couple years, someone that I've wanted on this Dodgers team. But you go out there and you get Corbin Burns, and Ketel Marte is someone who's certainly in that MVP mix when Shohei Otani isn't in your league, right? Corbin Carroll, someone who was committed to UCLA and ended up going pro. Corbin Carroll, he got to a slow start, then turned it on, right? I think this Diamondbacks team, with the pitching that they have, the offense that they have the best offense in baseball.
I also love how, they lose Christian Walker. They replace him with Josh Naylor. I mean, he was a great player last year for the Guardians. So another kind of quick piece that they just fill in. And I mean, I think Dodger fans are very happy to not have Christian Walker there anymore for all the killing that he did to the Dodgers. But, then you got Josh Naylor in there. So, I'm with you. I have the Diamondbacks finishing second in the division this year and even making a wild card spot this year.
And don't think I'm not going to come to you about the Padres. Okay?
I know you were.
We know, look, the Padres have some, you still have a lot of stars. Though. I mean, you got Fernando Tatis Jr.,
Luis an MVP candidate. And again, if Otani's not in your league, he's an MVP. Machado, he's maybe going to regress, but he's still there. Pavetta's a good signing. Michael King is looking like one of the best pitchers in baseball already. They have a really good bullpen. So the Padres aren't going anywhere, but I'm with you. They're going to regress. But I do want to hear what you all say about his Padres.
No,
do you have the Padres finishing second still? Or do you think, are you with us with the Diamondbacks?
Even the Giants going to be up?
The Giants could be a sleeper.
Yeah, no, I mean, I still think with the guys they lost and with the whole everything going on in their front office, still a very talented, very solid team. I'm personally just looking forward to the matchups. No matter what anybody says, that NLDS was great for the sport. It was great for narratives. It was great to get people tuning in at the very beginning. And then I don't think the Dodgers are able to go that full mile without getting over the hump and taking down that team that had that lead over them. But I see exactly what you guys are saying about the Diamondbacks. I think that's the real team to actually look at and think like, this is a squad that's hungry. This is a squad that took down the Dodgers 2 seasons ago. They made a lot of roster moves. They've gotten more experienced, and they're a team that's going to go at the
because I think that the rest of the league, the teams, either the powerhouses in the American League, the powerhouses in the other divisions, like the Mets or a team like that, they're kind of intimidated in a way by the Dodgers. It's the teams that are in their same division that I think are the least intimidated by them.
The teams that beat them. I mean, 3 years ago, the Padres beat them in the playoffs.
And very different teams, right? Those teams that didn't have Shohei Otani.
I mean, very true. But it's kind of like when
there's a familiarity factor there.
I mean, the last team to beat the Dodgers in the playoffs is the Diamondbacks. That's how you can say it right now. And a lot of those players are still there. The manager is still there. A lot of those same pieces are there. And all they did is add. That team is better than the one who beat the Dodgers, who swept the Dodgers. They didn't beat the Dodgers. They swept the Dodgers. And this team is better. So you think about it. There's something to say about that Diamondbacks team having the experience of beating the Dodgers before. They're not scared of them, and they have one of the best pitchers in baseball now in their rotation. So there's definitely some confidence there for sure.
The biggest problem that Arizona has is they're in the wrong division. And they're playing. They have the roster that 90% of the time is going to win your division, or at the very least be down to the wire. I still think, I don't want to tip my wins pick or anything like that. I still think the Dodgers finish at minimum 5 games ahead of the Diamondbacks in this division.
No, I mean, if the Diamondbacks are in the NL Central, they're an obvious division winner, potential first round bye, considering they can beat up on some of those other teams. Unfortunately, they're not. And I'm with you. I would be surprised if it's within 5 games at the end of the year. Diamondbacks are a great team. I just don't think they're going to go toe to toe with the Dodgers, who should surpass 100 wins this year.
100%. I think that's for sure where they're going to be at. I think it'd be shocking. There would have to be a slew of injuries. I mean, last year's Dodgers team had 40 pitchers.
Yeah, and they still won 98 games. So.
They won 98 games. You had Mookie Betts out for a couple months. You had Max Muncy out for a significant amount of time. And that team still won 98 games and finished with the best record in Major League Baseball. Now, if you did have to have one concern for this team that's not injury related, what would it be? I can start. I do think that you look at the outfield offensive production, and I think you bring back Teoscar Hernandez. You feel good about a season where he's 30% above league average, hitting 25 to 33 home runs, something in that range. Conforto is someone who I have said I think he's going to be an all-star batting in this lineup, having a resurgent season, doing what Teoscar did last year and JD Martinez did the year before that. But I think defensively, the outfield defense, if Pages is going to be their guy, and it's not the easy fix. And in Haesung Kim, who can he figure out the way to hit big league pitching and have him in center at second, or Edman at second, where he's an above average defender, and have Mookie back at second, which we all know is probably the best thing for this team. This team is going to be below average defensively in center field. At best, they're going to be average to passable in the corners. Then you look at the infield defense, Max Muncy and Mookie Betts. Right now, you would have to say that they're average to a below average defense at best. Second base at Tommy Edman, he's a Gold Glover there. You're feeling good about that position. Freddie Freeman, as good as he's been, he has gold on his glove. So that's Jose Ramirez, right? But he's even had some defensive regression. So I think defensively,
he's so banged up. I mean, think about. He's still not going to be fully healed from the ankle for like the first half of the season.
There'll probably be some rangy wrist stuff there. So I mean, here's the thing. I mean, it really is spotting the pimple on a model type thing. It's tough to find any holes on this roster because there just really isn't any. But this is the thing I know about this organization. And there's a wise man. I think it was Socrates, Aristotle. One of those guys said, "If you want the dub, you've got to slug." And they're always going to veer on the side of offense.
I don't think I remember Socrates saying
Was
that.
it not Socrates? That's right.
Plato.
Democritus.
It's probably Plato.
Democritus.
Okay. No. Okay. Just are we live? Look at that. But no. Look, I do think that is the number one thing. If you can hit, you're gonna be in this lineup. They're always gonna veer on the guys that can hit over offense. There's a reason why it doesn't feel like they gave strong consideration to James Outman in center field. Yeah. There's a reason why they're not just saying, let's throw Tommy Edman, let's throw Miguel Rojas at shortstop, knowing that they have the chance to be better defenders than Mookie Betts. It's always going to be about offense. But in run prevention, I mean, the starters are so damn good. They can miss so many bats. Like, I mean, how much time is the ball really going to be in play against this team?
Out there,
right?
Yamamoto out there.
It is something to consider. But if you had to pick something, I guess that is what it is. And I'm not going to say injuries, but if...
Yeah, I mean, again, to answer your question, the obvious concern, the starting pitching injuries. I mean, that's going to be for any team for any year.
That's the real answer.
But to take injuries out of it, I'm with you. I mean, for me, I would just hone in on shortstop. I don't want to bet against Mookie Betts. I like a lot of the stuff that he said this offseason. He sounds confident. I like a lot of the work he's done. But at the end of the day, he's transitioning to the hardest position outside a catcher in baseball. He's, 32 years old. He's not getting younger. He's not getting more agile. Yeah. And he also just had this brutal sickness that already took 20 pounds off of him. He's not going in with full strength. I mean, there's a lot going on. And he's one of your most important, maybe your most important player. Yes, obviously you're Shohei, but in terms of like the heart of the team, I mean, who's been there, it's Mookie Betts. So all that stuff on his shoulders that he's going through, and it's not an easy thing to do. And he struggled last year. I mean, that would have to be the concern. But also, I don't want to bet against Mookie Betts, and I think he'll prove people wrong. But that is a quote unquote concern because that's a really hard thing to do.
Look, if you are the guardian of the infield, it is outside of the catcher position, the most important position defensively because of the range that you have to have. He did go down to Austin in the first year, working with Troy Tulowitzki, doing a lot of video review. I mean, they tackled this so many different ways and getting the arm angles down, becoming a more fluid shortstop. But there's anytime in sports, let alone baseball, when someone is attempting to do something that's never been done, you have to see it first before you can believe it. And the truth of the matter is, we have never seen a 6-time Gold Glove Award winning right fielder go to shortstop at 31 and be average to above average that position while maintaining that kind of bat.
Exactly.
But you mentioned the betting on thing. When we were in Dallas, and I was up in Andrew Friedman's suite, he looked me in the eye and he said that I would never bet against Mookie Betts. So you're the same way. You're not betting against Mookie Betts.
You would be very stupid to bet against Mookie Betts.
You would.
You would be. I mean, all he has done in his entire career is prove people wrong.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Why bet against him? But at the same time, it is an obvious potential concern because of, again, what they're asking.
And if things start going wrong early in the season, everybody's going to point to
100%.
Mookie making that move.
That's a fantastic point, is that there's the narrative element of this because two things can be true, right? Multiple things can be true, and you don't know at what point in his career is he going to start regressing offensively. Yeah. But if the power numbers are down, the batting average is down, the on base is down, and he's kind of showing it. I mean, he literally told us last year that playing shortstop was the hardest thing. He didn't say in his career. Yeah. Lou says the hardest thing he's ever doing in his life.
Ever done.
Right?
And he can do a lot of things.
He can do a lot of things.
Dunk a basketball,
Rubik's Cube, dunk, and bowl. I mean, he just bought a bowling team, right? I mean, that is going to be something to monitor early on. But the good thing is there's not a lot of teams out in Major League Baseball that have the kind of depth that the Dodgers have to overcome that. So I think that there's a couple of guys in the league that have earned the opportunity to say, look, I've done it all. Yeah. I've won it all. I want a chance to do this. Yeah. Give me that opportunity. Yeah. And I will point something out. Before Mookie Betts went on the IL and he broke his hand, he was third in all of Major League Baseball among shortstops in F4 behind Bobby Witt Jr. and Gunnar Henderson. So that kind of goes to my point of like how the Dodgers do things. He can hit. If you can hit, if you can go with some errors.
We'll see what you can do at shortstop. As long as if he's average, it's a win. I mean, he wants to be above average. He wants to be above average at everything he does. If he's average, though, it's a win for them. And, maybe he gets some spell time when he maybe moves over to second base, although I think he's going to be all in on shortstop, and they'll see what he can do. But, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting for sure. But like we've all said, until he proves us that he can't do it, you got to assume that he can, because he's going to want to do it for sure.
If Mookie plays above average defense and is a top 5 offensive bat, he deserves to be an MVP. Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things.
He might take it over Otani.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of one of those things, man. Like
we might finally get that Otani Mookie race that we were supposed to be last year.
Exactly.
Mookie got hurt.
And that's, I mean, yes, they would split some votes, but it's only great for the game.
No,
and
I mean, it is just like, not that like this is an important point, but it's just kind of crazy to think about. Like he's a Hall of Famer right now. And if he just kind of finished his career in right field or finished at second base, like no one would say anything. He already has his MVP. He has his World Series. Like he has everything he needs to do. But now he's like, you know what? I want to take this challenge. And I think that's a big reason too. Like he kind of likes to have something that he needs to work towards. He's already done everything in his baseball career. Like he could retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame. But he wants that challenge. He wants something to work for. And this is that for him. So it almost is probably going to motivate him to be even better than he was last year and better than he was before. So it's probably a good thing for him to have that challenge. At the same time, it's just crazy to think about that he'd even put himself. Like I think it was Manny Machado who was like, "Why?
It's crazy.
Why would he do that? Like why would he even do that? There's no point,
And for me, I was thinking about this a little bit last season. Like, why does he want to do this? And I think a part of his pride, part of it is he is the ultimate team player. Yeah. He loves a challenge. I mean, this is someone he was a 5th round pick, right? He wasn't a 1st round guy, someone that was expected to be the superstar player that he ultimately became. But I also think there's like a tiny bit there, like, man, Shohei's the unicorn because you can pitch, because you can hit. How do I kind of get like a little bit of that? Yeah. And this is how he gets kind of a little bit of that.
I mean, it's like legacy of like, if Mookie Betts finished his career in right field, you just think of him as, wow, he was one of the best outfielders in the game, one of the best winners in the game. And that's kind of how you think about him. When you also think about the fact that he's transitioning to shortstop, and if he has a successful few seasons at shortstop, it's, oh my God, this guy's done something that nobody's done before.
Like, that's a great point. If he's successful in any capacity in doing this for an entire season, that's going to be in the first couple paragraphs of his career blurb, right? Exactly. Mookie, Gold Glove outfielder, multi-time, and then MVP, World Series champion. But also, he went to a position when most players that play that position change positions,
literally.
Right? And he played. And I will point out one more thing before we move on here. Gold Glove, they don't look at UZR that much and outs above average, defensive run saves like, the nerds, like us like to look at things like that. It's very narrative based. And if he shows that the errors are down and things like that, I could see him winning a Gold Glove.
He's making some flashy plays.
Exactly.
Always people love to see.
The Jumpman Mookie just stepping on the base.
Like he had that one last year where he stuffed on the base.
Derek Jeter, man.
No, I mean,
he does one jump throw a year and makes up for like
Gold Glove
2-3 months of terrible defense. So yeah, that's a fantastic point. So I think that is the concern is certainly defensive. I mean, you can't ignore the injuries, and that's the obvious choice. I will say too that from an offensive standpoint, we don't really know like who is going to like. Is Andy Pages the guy in the first month of the season that he came up and was hitting really well and was taking the game by storm, and he was the second best bat against lefties last season? Tommy Edman, he had a worse OPS plus than Kike Hernandez and Chris Taylor when he joined the team. So it's not like in the regular season he was this incredible bat that we saw in the postseason.
No, that happened at the end.
That did happen in the end. So outfield production, just overall, last year the Dodgers were a combined 101 weighted runs created plus. They were exactly just 1% above league average offensively from the outfield, even with Teo there.
Was Teo, yeah.
And then coming out there. So Michael is the outfield production. I will say that. But let's do some quick hitter stuff here.
Yeah.
And we'll switch the pitching side. Look, the big stories, if you're going to just kind of list them off, I don't care what anyone says. Number one story is Shohei Otani going back to being the unicorn, because doing what he did last season, if that was his whole career, going 54 home runs, 59 stolen bases. If you did that for 10 years, it would still be like, okay, who's the best player of all time? Is it Shohei? Is it Bonds? Is it Willie Mays? It's that short list of great players. But the minute he steps on the mound and is a top 5 pitcher, the argument's over. Yep. He's the most talented player to ever play this game. And that is what we're going to see this season, is him pitch again for the Los Angeles Dodgers. But the question is it over or under 10 starts, 15 starts, 20 starts? Let's put at 9.5 starts. Noah, I'll go to you. Over or under 9.5 for Shohei Otani on the bump?
The over, but it's not going to be a smashing over. I don't think he's making 20 starts. My magic number is somewhere around 12. Like, I feel like 12 starts kind of makes sense. I mean, they're obviously slow playing him, whether he debuts in May, whether he debuts in June. Either way, it's going to be a 6-man rotation. I don't know if they're going to give him rest at some point. Whatever it is, it's definitely not going to be he's making a start every 6th day for X amount of months, So my magic number in my head is kind of 12, because I think they also want to make sure he makes 1, 2, 3, 4 starts in the postseason. I think that's what's most important to them. So I think somebody asked, whether it was Gomes or Friedman, maybe it was Dave Roberts, like 18 to 20 starts for Otani. Like, how does that sound? They're like, I think it was Dave Roberts. He's like, that sounds about right. So, you think 18 to 20, including the postseason, that gets you to somewhere like 12 to 14 in the regular season. So I'd say over, but I'm not smashing the over.
I do think that Shohei is one of those guys, from what I've been told, is he loves to pitch, but he lives to hit. Yeah. But he also realizes to pitch effectively, he has to be very routine based. He needs to make his turns throughout the rotation. He has averaged 143 innings from 2021 to 2023 when he's been out there on the mound. I do agree with you that the big kicker in all this is when he's with the Angels, they were in Cancun in August, in September, right? They did not have to account for October. Yeah. They have to do that with the Dodgers. So they're slow playing. You're coming back from a labrum injury. You're coming back from a second Tommy John surgery. And you're going to be pinning him in a 6-man rotation. You want to make sure the bat is where it is. And the truth of the matter is the only thing that completely would force you to recalibrate your expectations for the 2025 Dodgers would be if you would lose Shohei Otani's bat for a significant amount of time. I mean, that's 100%. The number one thing. A 9.2 WAR season as a DH,
just the DH
is freakish. Yeah. Right?
So, no, I mean, him not being atop of the lineup would be the only devastating thing that could happen to this team, So
exactly. And so knowing that they're not going to completely push him, but I still think he's going to make 15 starts. Yeah. I really do, just because I think that he's missed time. And when you've missed time, you got to shake that rust off. And a lot of pitchers that are coming back from Tommy John surgery, they say it's not the velocity at the beginning, it's the feel and the command. And that takes about 5 to 7 starts. So when you're at 5 to 7 starts, you give him 5 to 7 to really feel good.
You start in June,
comfortable.
You're getting to August till he's comfortable.
Exactly.
So there you go. Now you're getting close to postseason time.
And then that's the time where it's like, okay, let's any type of restrictions or anything like that are completely off at that point. But look, he was throwing more cutter and sweeper and slider than fastball towards the end there. I think it's going to go back to high velo, 98, 100 mile per hour Shohei Otani, just blowing guys, just mowing guys down and completely reestablishing himself as an elite pitcher. But I do think that he's going to get more starts than people think.
No, I mean, that's a great point. I think I'm stuck on it just because of how many guys they have in that rotation right now. You see someone like Dustin May getting healthy. You see him about to make his first start in over 2 years, right about 2 years. So looking at Shohei, you want him at 100% for the postseason. You want him doing his thing. You want him in that bat. I think last year, there was almost moments where you forgot this dude was going to be a pitcher again because of how incredible he was batting, how incredible he was leading this team from the DH position. So even though I see everything you guys are saying, I see that he needs to start to come through again. I wouldn't be surprised if his first start got delayed. I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up being under 9, just because this team wants to be very careful with this investment they have in front of them. We saw how he already cashed in year 1. I mean, the man made back almost what his contract was worth to be if he didn't get it deferred. So yeah, I think there's a chance that his first start gets delayed and he ends up being under 9. I wouldn't be surprised, but I want to see him pitch as much as he can, and I want him to be healthy.
Look, I think the Dodgers, kind of the way that they're built, I know that they want more than 7 or 8 starts at Dodger Stadium this season, right? As far as just the electricity of that moment. But I just think that, look, for pitchers, they'll tell you it's not always low innings counts and missing starts that keeps them healthy. I mean, Max Scherzer was adamant a couple of years ago that was one of the reasons that contributed to the injury was missing starts. And here's the thing. I mean, listen to Andrew Friedman recently talk about this. They don't have data points for this, right? They don't say, like, well, let's look at Babe Ruth, how he did it. Yeah. Okay. Like, what are Babe Ruth's advanced metrics on spin rate and how he bounced back from a velocity standpoint after those starts with the Red Sox, right? No. So it's going to be a communication effort from Shohei to the front office. They're going to be in lockstep the entire season. But I think that once he gets going, it's like, oh man, it's Shohei, dude.
Yeah. Let him do his thing.
You gotta let him do his thing. I mean, he's someone that 143 innings. I mean, that's what he averaged. I mean, we've seen him have 160 plus inning seasons. I think he's going to make his turn through the rotation once he gets there. I do think you're right in the slow playing him to get there.
Yeah.
And they're going to not rush that just because you're coming off the labrum surgery and they have the depth, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But I do think that once
just second surgery, it's like you never know. Even just him getting his process delayed in spring was like already like a big thing. I know they were just trying to get him comfortable swinging again, actually playing in games, but I think, like I said, I just think they want to protect their guy. And I mean, like, they're not going to look at Babe Ruth.
And here's the thing, too. Like, no one's really talking about this is like, look, yes, on paper, this rotation is absolutely one of the best we've ever seen entering a season. Yeah. Is the curse over because they won last season? Because last year they used 40 pitchers. Yeah. And if a guy goes down here and there, Shohei's role might be enhanced in the sense that you can't afford to lose a Shohei Otani. You need starts from him. If Yamamoto, who lost 3 months last season, Tyler Glasnow has missed significant time. Blake Snell has missed time throughout his career. Roki Sasaki is a rookie.
Don't know. I mean,
Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, as talented as these guys are, there's not one of them that doesn't have a big question mark next to their name as far as their durability and their injury history. There's some checkered past with these guys. So I think that Shohei coming off that second surgery, it puts him in a spot where the operation's been done, hopefully he's fully healthy, and you take full advantage of it. So you guys got him over slightly. You have him under. I have him pretty significantly over that. Okay, so let's move on and let's do some other quick hitters. Who's your team Cy Young? I can start for this one. I'm going Blake Snell. I think Blake Snell is going to be the team Cy Young because throughout his career, we know a couple things with Blake Snell. When he does not have injuries and he throws at least 180 innings, he's not just a great pitcher, he wins the Cy Young. Only twice in his career has he thrown 180 or more innings in a season. Both those times he has won the Cy Young. Yeah. And down the stretch last season, he was the best pitcher in baseball. He is now in an organization where he's surrounded by so much talent. He wants to win. And now you pair the peaking version of Blake Snell with Mark Pryor and Connor McGinnis, his locker by Clayton Kershaw. Hopefully some aura rubs off on him from that. I just think that he is the $182 million man that they hoped he would be. I think he's going to be the best pitcher for the Dodgers. But what say you, Mr. Cameras?
I like it. And I actually did a predictions on DodgersNation.com of kind of predicting every stat. So I have Blake Snell being the quote-unquote workhorse. I think he'll lead the team in innings, and I think he'll lead the team in strikeouts. The quote-unquote Cy Young pitcher, though, I'm going to go Yamamoto. I think he leads the team in ERA. I think he'll kind of just continue to evolve after, again, he had one really bad start last year in his debut, and then he really kind of plateaued, and then he got really good. And down the stretch in the postseason, he was really that guy, especially think of, Game 5 of the NLDS. I mean, he did what the team needed him to go to the NLCS and the World Series. So I think Yamamoto will be the team Cy Young overall, just in terms of maybe having the best stuff, having the best season, lowest DRA, that kind of stuff. But I do think Snell will end up being the workhorse, which maybe you could argue is just as important as being the best pitcher because for the Dodgers, they'll just need the innings. But I'll go Yamamoto on that one.
No, yeah, I also agree with Noah Yamamoto. I mean, just seeing how he progressed from that very first game of his Dodgers career back in Seoul, Korea to now being their opening day starter in Tokyo, just seeing the progression there, seeing the confidence. Dave Roberts also said he thinks that Yamamoto is going to be in the Cy Young conversation. Yep. I'm really excited to see year two Yamamoto. I think he's a lot more comfortable. He has another one of his friends, Roki Sasaki, that he's going to be mentoring. Big reason why Roki came. But I think he's going to be one of the pitchers headlining and just going out there and getting business done and hopefully staying healthy. That missing 3 months last season hurt him, but 3 really strong starts in the postseason, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to bring.
Yeah. No, here's a fun question. Let's just say one of the Dodgers pitchers is the one who starts the All-Star game. Like, it's probably going to be Paul Skeens. But let's just say it's one of the Dodgers pitchers. Who do you think it would be?
I think it's going to be Blake Snell. I really do. I mean, because I think he's going to flip the script on his career
where a good first half.
He's going to have a really good first half just because, I mean, I talked to him a couple times, and one of the things he mentioned was, hey, I learned a lot about myself having to go through a rushed, abbreviated spring training.
It was rough last year.
And now he doesn't have to do that. And look, you signed a big contract, man, and you walk by the owner a couple of times. You walk by Andrew Friedman.
Feel much better.
You want to put those numbers up early on. Be like, hey,
100%.
you feel good about the fact you
guys
invested
made a good
in me,
idea.
right?
You guys made a good decision.
Yeah, like go back to, I mean, the Dodgers dugout, the first reel we did where he was my number one guy.
Yeah.
And there were Dodgers fans. It was, I think it was 60-40 Dodgers fans that did not want Blake Snell on the Dodgers. And my big point to them was like, Blake Snell has become the most underrated star pitcher in baseball. And the truth of the matter is, last 84 starts, dating all the way back to the start of the 2021 season, where he made some tweaks to his sequencing with the Padres. So shout out to the Padres. Their pitching coaches really took Snell to the next level.
Nebula's really, really good.
Absolutely.
Good
He said a 2.72 ERA and a 33.1% strikeout rate. If Yamamoto did that in his next 84 starts, we'd be doing cartwheels down 1000 Vince Kelly Avenue, saying that signing is absolutely great. So you guys know, for me, you know what's funny? Blake Snell is one of my favorites to watch, but I would say if I had to pick one to watch, like Yamamoto's my favorite pitcher to watch in baseball.
Especially when his command is on.
When he's dotting that 90.
It's not fair.
But here's the thing, though. Like, the thing that concerned me is, like, just watching that game in Tokyo from the stands, I was like, hearing the pop of that mitt, I was like, you know what? That pop sound similar to the pop of the mitt when he was in the Bronx and he went off against the Yankees. And what happened a couple starts after that, right? That's when he got injured, right? So can he sustain 97, 98?
No, that's fair.
And a 93 mile per hour splitter.
Yeah,
but look, I mean, like I said, it's an embarrassment of pitches for this team. And
you've been saying that for years.
You really can't go. If it is Yamamoto, I'll be happy. But Blake Snell is someone that
it could be any of it. It could be Glasnow. I mean,
he's the new toy
Glasnow
for me.
Could very easily have.
So you're like Woody. You dropped the
exactly. He's my Buzz Lightyear
for
this season. Yeah, no, wait from a hot take on Roki coming up. But
I've heard it.
Let's switch gears to, I mean, this one's a pretty easy one.
Yeah. We'll do it quickly.
Let's do reliever of the year. Reliever of the year. I'll let you start.
Well, is it in terms of meeting expectations, or just who will be the best reliever?
Who will be the best? Who will be the Dodgers' best, most dominant reliever?
I mean, it's almost like stupid not to go Tanner Scott. I mean, he's going to lead the team in saves. He's downright filthy. I mean, downright filthy in the playoffs. He's downright filthy in the regular season. He has the strikeout stuff. He has the heat. I mean, he has all the good stuff. Now, they're going to have a lot of good relievers. Kirby Yates will be a really good one. I mean, we saw what Alex Vesia did last year. We saw what someone like Anthony Bonda did last year. Blake Trinan is not going anywhere. But, like, if you want to say who's going to be the best, I mean, you got to go Tanner Scott, although I'm excited to see what Michael Kopech does when he gets back from injury.
Michael Kopech's the big wild card. To me, he's one of the big X factors just because when you're dealing with shoulder inflammation, when you're dealing with arm inflammation, he said he was at 60% at one point during the postseason.
Yeah.
We also saw him through the hardest pitch that we've seen a Dodger throw since Jonathan Broxton threw 103 back in 2009 last season when he pumped 102 plus against the Cardinals. But it's Tanner Scott. Like Tanner Scott.
There's a reason he's getting $72 million.
Exactly. You go out there and you sign a guy for $72 million. You do it because he's dominant. And I think that a lot of people, there are going to be mixed saves. Evan Phillips is going to get his saves. Vesia will get his saves every now and then. Kirby Yates will get his saves. I do think that he is going to be the first Dodgers closer to get 30 saves since Kenley Jansen in 2022. Just because, like Dave had to do so much last season, pushing the right buttons. Like, Dave, just give me Tanner. Give me Tanner.
Put Tanner
give me
in the
Tanner.
night.
Give me
Just put Tanner in the night.
Like, just do that for Dave. Like, Tanner Scott wants to be that guy. I mean, when we talked to him in spring training, every question was, "I just want to win. I just want to win." He was like he's like the Terminator out there. But who would you say, Anthony Bonda, your doppelganger?
I was going to say it's going to be Anthony
Bonda is my guy, but I mean, come on, Tanner Scott, nasty.
Kirby Yates, your new best friend. What are you talking about?
No, Kirby.
Show him some love.
Kirby Yates is gonna be awesome. I also think Alex Vesia is gonna be amazing. I think he really, really found comfort last year. He found a role that worked for him. High leverage, was able to pitch really well across multiple innings. Drinks 2 Red Bulls during the game.
Sugar-free.
Sugar-free.
We learned that.
That's the answer.
We learned
First
that
inning,
on
fifth
Dodgers
inning.
Nation.
So next time we're covering the games, we're gonna do that too. But Vesia, Tanner Scott, those two are my guys for sure.
I love that.
Yeah,
a lot of lefties.
A lot of lefties. The thing about Vesia is he leads the league in induced vertical break. It's kind of, I asked him about it, and he's like, is that like your superpower? And it is kind of a superpower for these guys because it's not something that you can be like, oh, yeah, make it dip like 8, 12 inches vertically. That's something it's really, you're given that gift. And he's someone that has had slow starts to the point where he's been down in AAA and he's lights out for the rest of the way. last year was his best complete season. And I think that
he was one of the best relievers in baseball.
For sure.
I mean,
easily, yeah.
That's how good
Did you
it
hear
was.
me? I was gassing him up in that interview.
You always do.
Yeah, at the end, I was like, I'm calling right now, Alex. You're going to be an all-star in 2025.
Yeah,
So we'll see. He's like, all right, cool. Thanks, man. But so I think, look, we kind of go with the logical choice. I like that, going a little bit against the grain. Okay, this is a little more fun. It is the sleeper candidate. And I'll start. I'll let you think about yours.
Yeah.
My sleeper candidate, I have two, has to be on the pitching side for me. And it's Edgardo Henriquez. And the reason why I say Edgardo Henriquez
Nothing but heat.
is
Got to get that foot healed first.
got to get that foot healed. We don't know what it was. We won't speculate. I think he kicked something. I DM'd him. He didn't DM me back. But the thing with Edgardo Henriquez is you mentioned Michael Kopech. And Michael Kopech was brought on because they wanted to have that explosive four-seam fastball guy that could dominate hitters. And if Kopech has to miss any time, any significant time, who do you go to for that velocity? Edgardo Henriquez can throw 102. He averaged 98.7 miles per hour on his fastball in his final 3 games of the season when he was called up. He made the postseason roster, did give a home run, but you're talking about a guy that pitched at 4 levels last season in one of the most competitive farm systems in baseball and emerged to pitch for the Dodgers by the end of the year. He had a sub-3 ERA, a 31.8% strikeout rate. He's got the swing and miss stuff. He's got the velocity. I think he's my sleeper candidate for this team. And I'll throw one more bonus one at you.
Don't take mine. I'll be really mad if you take mine.
Is it a pitcher?
Yeah.
All right, I won't say mine.
Okay.
I won't say
Save
mine.
it, because if it's mine, I'll be really mad. Okay, so I'm going to go before Doug takes mine.
Okay.
Ben Kasparius.
Oh, man, you took mine. You took mine.
I got Ben for something else.
Then you can go.
Oh, no, it was just Jack Dreyer.
Okay, I like that one.
Jack Dreyer is someone that, I mean,
He can solve anything.
he can solve anything. He's got the crazy movement in the zone as well. They have called him up and they kind of accelerate, I think, his growth from that standpoint. I think for him, it would have to come after a regression type of season for Anthony Bonda, injury to Alex Vesia, right? I mean, it's a lot of lefties already. So, but he's a sleeper. But I want to hear yours.
No, I mean, I'm going with Ben Kasparius. I mean,
see.
this is another guy who's really kind of skyrocketed up the organization. And all of a sudden, they kind of put him on the map last year, late in the season. And he's starting a freaking World Series game.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this year, he looks significantly better in spring training. He looked really good in Tokyo. He has a high fastball. He has the slider. He has a cutter. And his spin is so good and his stuff is so good that I just think he's going to be this guy in the bullpen where he's going to get way overlooked because you got Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, Blake Trine, and Alex Vesia. I mean, you have all these names, Evan Phillips, Michael Kopech, Bruce Gratterall at some point. I mean, there's so many names that are going to get overlooked, but his stuff is so good. And he looked so sharp this spring that he just feels like someone who's just always going to be there in the back of the bullpen. He can give them some length, which is always going to be important on a team like the Dodgers if they go through pitching injuries or if they're taking their guys out earlier in the game, the 5th inning, you need some of that length. I mean, he's going to be that guy. And man, did his stuff look good this spring. So I just feel like you kind of have to just watch out for Ben Kasparius because he's just going to be one of those guys that nobody really knows around the league. And then all of a sudden it's like, how do the Dodgers keep getting these guys? And it's like, well, that's how they do it.
I love that point. I think that you're on the money with that in that you play the Dodgers and you're like, oh, what's Shohei going to do? Oh, what's Glassdown and Snell and Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott going to do? And then it's like, wait a minute. Ben Kasparius went 1, 2, 3 and he in the high leverage moment.
He had a nasty off speed. It's like, what? Like, how's that even fair at this point? So I don't know. I just think he's going to be that guy where, again, like the other teams are going to be scouting the Dodgers and they're looking at all the big names, of course, when they're scouting everybody, but they're focused on some of those bigger guys. And all of a sudden there's Ben Kasparius down there.
Sneaks in.
Just ready to sneak in there. And
absolutely. Noel, you got one?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a position player since you got Noah took my pitch here. And you guys taking pitch. I'm going to go Tommy Edman. I know that the whole world got introduced to him in the NLCS and just great play throughout the entire postseason. But batting in the 8 hole, it seems like he batted in the 8 hole yesterday. We're going to see how that lineup changes up throughout the year. But I think that's perfect for him. He's kind of going to be that bridge as you get to the bottom of the lineup, go back to Otani, Mookie, Freddie. And I mean, just overall great defense at second base too. I know he thrives in center field as well, but playing right there with Mookie Betts, that's going to take a lot of ease off of him, and just excited to see him play on both sides. And, the further away we get from that trade, even though we all miss Miguel Vargas, bringing in Tommy Edman was just an incredible move.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy Edman's career high in home runs is what, like 13 I think?
Yep.
I mean, if he is he already hit a home run in Tokyo, and he's kind of showed that power. He showed it last year in the playoffs, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it really feels like he could just have some breakout year that he never had when he was with the Cardinals.
Yeah, I was just about to say, just because you're a really good established player, it doesn't mean you can't break out, right? I mean, everyone can level up.
Yeah.
And I think you hit on it right there. That's how he levels up. Can he hit 15 to 20 home runs?
Yeah. I mean, in that range, he's going to score a bunch of runs like you said, he's going to be that 8-9 hole. He might even be in the 9 hole because the Dodgers love having people on base for the top of the order. And he's so good at getting on base. He's fast.
So fast.
Which is great.
So agile.
Yeah, you can
athletic.
steal bases. You can get to second, all those kind of things. And he's going to score a lot of runs. He's going to get on base a lot. And I think he's going to add that power into his game. And like we've all said, I mean, he has the versatility, which the Dodgers love. That's why they gave him this extension, because he can play second, he can play short, he can play center field, he can play everywhere.
So that's a great point. His defense, I mean, he was always going to be in the line no matter what, just because of the quality of bat that he has when he's right. But his defensive versatility is going to make it where he's always going to be on the field.
And he's a switch hitter. He's better one way than the other, but still, I mean, that is valuable that a lot of players don't have that value.
Yeah. And only 29 years old, freshly extended. I mean, he's going to be something different this year. Come on. His career, yeah.
I will say though, I asked him after the game about like the hitting for power and what he attributes that to, and he just said his swing is more direct. It's a flatter path to the ball, and when guys make a little tweak, I mean, we saw Justin Turner early in his career, right? You just have that faster, more direct, where your bat's in the zone longer, it leads to more power. But I will say he is somewhat of I don't want to say like a regression player or an X factor, but he's someone that I think a lot of people are basing his year and projecting his future based on that NLCS.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we saw Eddie Rosario, my good friend, what he did in the NLCS and then how his career's gone from that. I think Tommy Edman is going to be an above average bat, but it's how much above average can he get? Because the truth is, with the Dodgers in 37 games, he hit 237.
Yeah, he had one good stretch where he hit like a couple. I remember it was he had like a bunch of home runs in a row.
Yeah, no home runs, and all of a sudden he had like 4 or 5 career home runs.
And for his career, just as a whole, 7 years, he's a dead even 100 OPS plus. So I mean,
so if he's above that, it's a plus. Better year for him. Yeah.
When you're an average bat, but you play above average defense in multiple positions, you are by definition 8 and above average player.
He's going to do just that, if not above average bat. And again, all he has to do is get on base at the top of the order.
They'll bring him home.
And the thing that you love about Edman is he's the one who gets moved up in the lineup when Mookie's out. Like that's his versatility. He can be a 2-hole hitter.
Yeah.
That was the first time he hit cleanup in his whole career.
No, I mean, exactly. He's in cleanup last year. This year he's hitting the 2-hole because Mookie's out, and all of a sudden he's back in the 8-hole. And no matter what, he's going to post for you. Yeah. And that's just the kind of player you want.
That's what you want. Okay, this one, it's tough to. This is another one. We might go chalk with the comeback player of the year. Got to be Dustin May. Because what are you coming back from? I mean, 2 arm surgeries, flexor tendon, torn esophagus. The guy almost died, and now he's the 5th starter in the Dodgers rotation.
There are a lot of candidates though with the Dodgers.
I'm going Dustin May.
No, I mean it's probably Dustin May. I mean, I honestly I would have said it's whoever won the 5th starter job between May and Gonsolin, and I mean it probably has to be Dustin May. Again, with all the stuff that he's gone through, and he looked really nasty in spring training. There are some other. I mean, you could always go someone like Kershaw. I mean,
even Glass now with the way his season ended. I mean, he puts together a really healthy year. Like I said, he's up there with the best pitchers in the game.
Otani, the pitcher.
The thing with Glass, I mean, he did have a career high in starts and innings pitched, and he was lethal when he was on the mound. I mean, comeback. There's a couple ways to frame it. It's coming back from injury or coming back from struggling mightily.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the ultimate one would be if Chris Taylor could somehow be a guy that could build on the 300 batting average he had towards the last 6 games of the season.
It's probably Dustin May, just for everything he went through and the fact that he's opening the season in a rotation. As long as he doesn't struggle mightily or get hurt, there's no reason he's going to lose that spot. So he'll have as long a runway as he can to just keep taking those starts every 5th day. And then when Otani comes back 6th day, and all of a sudden you could have a really nasty season. So I like
totally agree. Okay. So another fun one, player most likely to be traded. Player most likely to be traded. And for me, where's the surplus? The surplus is in the starting rotation, right? Position players who could really be dealt. I mean, Chris Taylor, you would have to pay other teams to take him, and you would get a low-level prospect at best, right? I mean, not just the state of Major League Baseball, and for a player of that caliber based on where that contract's at. I think when you look at where the Dodgers would look to make moves, if they did want to go after Nolan Arenado or something. If third base they didn't feel great about or something like that, I think Max Muncy is going to be good there. He has missed time last couple of seasons.
Yeah, but it was more fluky stuff. So
it was fluky stuff. Chiropractic, shout out to him.
Yeah.
But I do think if they wanted to address something and go big, Luis Robert Jr. center fielder. If they wanted to add Bo Bichette shortstop, if Mookie Betts does not want to play that position or it doesn't work out and they have some injuries, Bobby Miller, I think, could be someone that they could trade as far as the upside that other teams would look at.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers would feel, look, we have a lot of guys, and guys like Landon Knack are probably not going to like move the needle to get a deal done.
Like maybe Robleski.
Who's had a really good spring and I'm really high on. But Bobby Miller, I mean, he has stuff you can't teach. 98 mile per hour fastball, 5 good pitches, really good changeup. But who would you say, Mr. Noah Cameron?
I mean, I think it's kind of two ways to answer this. It's one, it's either a player, like you said, from the surplus, which is a starting pitching, or two, is it a top prospect that the Dodgers end up making another big deal at some point in the season? For me, I go with someone like Tony Gonsolin. I just think it's so unfortunate about the setback with the back injury because, he already had the Tommy John, worked his way back, was almost ready last year. They decided not to do it. And then he comes back. He kind of feels like he's going to be the fifth starter. Then he hurts his back, and all of a sudden he's on the shelf, and no one's going to play their way out of the rotation. So the only way he gets in really is an injury at this point, and like they want to move May to the bullpen. But again, if May's playing well, he's not going anywhere. So Tony Gonsolin has a hard time getting back into the rotation, especially once Otani's back, Kershaw's back, all those players start coming back, and they have the depth like Robleski, Knack, Nick Frasso even. So I just feel like Tony Gonsolin ends up being a guy who almost just becomes the odd man out. And, 2-3 years ago at this point, he went 16-1, had a sub-3 ERA and was an all-star. And he was really in that Cy Young conversation with Alcantara until late in the year. So I just think a team could still take a chance on that upside. They do shed a little bit of money, which isn't the worst thing in the world for the Dodgers that they spend so much. But I just feel like he ends up being a guy where he just has nowhere to play for the Dodgers when everyone's healthy. And some other team, whether it be the Yankees, the Orioles, any of these AL East pitcher-needy teams, comes call and say, hey, we'll give you just like some random mid prospect for Tony
I think that's
Gonsolin.
a fascinating thing to bring up because the thing about Tony Gonsolin is no one is denying that he, when he's right, is a really good regular season starter. He was an all-star in 22. He's making he did that deal, that sneaky deal to buy out some arbitration years a couple years ago, where he's making $5.4 million this year.
Yeah.
When you're making $5.4 million for the Dodgers, you're actually costing the Dodgers $10.8 million when you look at where they're at on the CBT. And if they don't think that he is going to be a back end guy for them and everyone stays healthy, maybe they do look to deal him. But I also think too, if the Dodgers traded any starters, and we see what happened last year where it dropped like flies, you're going to regret it.
You'll be like, why would they trade?
Why would they trade anyone? I will say, if he was here and he was running by my mic, I would steal the mic from me and say, James Outman, please, trade me. Because if I'm James Outman,
you want to play baseball
he's
somewhere.
going to be 28 on May 14th.
It is time for him to get an everyday job somewhere.
And I think
it's not going to be in LA.
He needs 300 to 500 plate appearances with a team. He needs to be on a team that's going to allow him to fail and face left-handed pitching. I mean, I'm not saying.
The Angels just cut Mickey Moniak. Why don't they try to take a chance on James Outman?
Do your Mickey Moniak in the Ron Washington? No, not the time.
Well, he's not here anymore.
Noel, anyone come to mind as far as most likely to be traded?
No. I mean, definitely, it's super unfortunate what happened with Bobby Miller to start spring training because we really didn't even get a first look at him after he took that ball right to the head. But I mean, only 25 years old. He's in the Dodgers organization that just signed a bunch of good pitchers, that has future, that has present, that has guys that are looking just to dominate the mound. So I think it might just be best for his career right now to kind of get out somewhere else where he can be in a rotation, where he can be one of the guys that gets a lot of starts and is allowed to grow and fail. And, his physique. You
guys know my thing.
Yeah, his physique, his pitches are something just incredible.
You know my thing. Let me be great player on bad team, then be average player on great team. I want the money. Exactly. I want to be the guy on the billboards. I could buy a World Series on eBay.
I mean, you think about the starting rotation right now. Otani is there for 9 years. Maybe he's not going to pitch the whole 9 years, but he's here for 9 years. Almoda's here for 11 more years. Glasnow's here for 4 more years.
Roki 6
Snell's
years.
for 5 years. Roki at least 6 years. It's not like these guys aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So, assuming health, Bobby Miller has a lot that needs to happen for him to get into that rotation.
Yeah, just like Gonsolin, but he's younger.
Exactly.
He's younger. He doesn't have the injury history.
Yeah, and
last season, I mean, he was dealing with
a really good start.
He did. It started the year against the Cardinals, but he was dealing with a shoulder injury where they totally changed the mechanics on the delivery, which made it impossible for him to have consistent command. So if I'm a team out there and I'm diving into that stuff, I feel like I could get value from that. Exactly. But I just don't think the Dodgers are going to be active with their pitchers early on. And it just, if you have to answer the question, you have to say a name. I don't want to trade Bobby Miller. I still think that you need to stockpile as much pitching as you can,
No, for sure.
especially in this organization that has high premium level players. When you have premium talent, guys that throw faster and have higher spin rates, that leads to more injuries.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers have a ton of those guys because they know those are the guys that win games in the regular season and in the postseason. So by nature of that, guys are going to get injured. And then guys like Bobby Miller, all of a sudden it's the meme. Hey, I just became important at my job type thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it happens a lot in this organization.
Yeah.
I mean, you just mentioned a couple minutes ago, Ben Kasperius, a guy who Dave Roberts did not know who he was in July, started a World Series game. Okay.
World
So
Series.
baseball can get weird. Okay. But this is my favorite one. Let's switch to some bold predictions. Some bold predictions. I'll start it off. I'll start my bold prediction. First bold prediction.
Let's hear it. I can't wait.
Shohei Otani is going to hit 60
Oh my God.
home runs for the Dodgers. And I'll tell you why I think that. Do you guys know when he hit his first home run last game?
Took a while.
Yeah.
He didn't hit his first home run until his 9th game of the season.
That's
His 33rd at bat of the year.
Let me just say, DMAC predicted it on Twitter.
Now, yeah.
You said like something along the lines of this is a great time for Shohei's first home
I have a
run.
hot take about
The
that.
only time
I have a hot take about that.
What's your hot take?
I have a hot take
What's
about
your hot
it.
take?
Were you at that game?
No, I was at my home.
No, he wasn't there. He wasn't
No. I think your broadcast was a little ahead.
How can my broadcast be ahead?
I don't know. Ahead of everybody else. I'm just playing out of contingency.
No,
I was about to say.
I remember you did tweet that, and then he homered that at bat, and so you felt it.
Hey, look, I mean, the truth of the matter is great players do great things in big situations, and there was not a better time for him to hit a home run than against the Giants in that big moment. And the thing is, if he hit 54 home runs while also stealing 50 plus bases, and yes, they're going to be the rigors of pitching, but if he's not going to be stealing as many bases, he already has a home run this season that hit the top of the ceiling of the Tokyo Dome, so he's off to a good start. If Aaron Judge can hit 60 home runs, so can Shohei Otani. So that's my first bold prediction.
I liked it.
Shohei Otani hitting 60 home runs. He was the first Dodger to hit 50 last season. Then he becomes the first Dodger to hit 60 this season.
I like it. I'll take one. I'll stick on the home run theme. By the way, just wrote 5 bold predictions on DodgersNation.com. So please go check that out and let me know what you guys think. I'm going to stick on a home run theme. I'm going to say 7 Dodgers hit 20 or more home runs this year.
like that.
Now, the record is 8 by the 2019 Minnesota Twins. I considered saying 8, but I didn't want to go too crazy because injuries and everything like that. But I think 7 Dodgers will hit at least 20. Last year, there were only 4 Dodgers who hit 20, although if Max Muncy and Mookie Betts played more games, they each would have hit 20 as well. So that would have taken you to 6. But I have 7. I'll go with names, but again, there's health issues, all things like that I don't want to like say it's for sure going to be these 7. But if everyone was healthy, the 7 options would be Otani, Betts, Freeman, Teo, Muncy, Will Smith, and then Michael Conforto, who I know is your all-star pick potentially. But someone like Tommy Edman could have a breakout year and hit 20, and someone like Andy Paz could have a breakout year if he gets 150 or 130 plus games. He could hit 20. But I just think 7 Dodgers will hit 20. If it's 8, that'll tie MLB history. I didn't want to go that crazy.
Last one here, the record. So I'll start.
I'm gonna
A
try
lot of people want to put the Dodgers at 117. And if you win 117 games, that would set the new record. The current leader is the 1906 Chicago Cubs. They had 116 wins. They actually have the highest win percentage because you played less games back then. They lost to the White Sox in the Fall Classic. Then the 2001 Mariners that won 116 games. They didn't get to the World Series. They didn't get to the Fall Classic like you would expect them to. That Yankees team was a really good team that season, and they had all that talent. I think the Dodgers won't win 117 games, but I have them winning 115 games.
Jeez.
And the Dodgers will go 115-47.
Oh my God, that'd be insane.
They'll win 11 games in the postseason, and that will have the Dodgers with 126 total wins, regular season and postseason, which will be one more than the current gold standard for me, which is the 1998 New York Yankees. And then you can put this Dodgers team in the conversation on the short list for the greatest teams of all time. Of course, it's barring health. Like I've said, it's not the NL, it's the AL, it's the IL that's going to hurt the Dodgers. That's going to stop the Dodgers. Barring health, I don't see how this team won't win that many games. I don't think this team will have a losing streak that will go past 3 games. Last year, their longest losing streak was 6, May 21st to the 26th.
I can't imagine this team losing 6 games. I mean, if you think that those 6 starts will be Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow,
Yeah.
Sasaki, Otani. One of them's going to have a good game. I mean,
Exactly. I mean, this is a perfect world if you're guaranteed me, but I'll go 115 and 147, 11 postseason wins, 126 teams, just 26 wins for a Dodgers team.
yeah,
Then we'll go down as one of the
way
greatest of
too
all
scared
time.
to go that high. I think I'm going to go 107 and I think I'll do my math. Would that be 55? I think that'd be 107
Yeah.
and 55. Already an insane amount of wins. I don't want to go too high. Also, if you ask me right now, are the Dodgers going to lose 55 games this year? I'll be like, no way they're going to lose 55 games. That's why that even feels low.
Yeah.
But, for the sake of, injuries, whatever else, I feel like maybe like 106 or 107 feels like a solid spot. I mean, again, they only won 98 games last year. This team's obviously better, but I'm not going to go out here and say
I have
they're
a
going to
question
win
for you. Well, actually, let me get your win total. I have a question for both of you, actually.
I got them winning 110 games.
Okay, I
That's
like it.
58, 52 last year.
110, 52.
Yeah, 110, 52. I think they are going to hit into that over
Yeah,
100
I mean,
wins for sure, and get kind of close to that 117. But that is definitely far fetched.
Yeah, my question to you guys is, if you get off to a really good start, and you have to think health-wise, guys are healthy to start the year, you get off to a good start. I mean, World Series hangover, is it a thing? Because in 2021, that team, they had their ups and downs, but still towards the end, when they really had that nice finish and they were one game behind the Giants, in their totality had 106 wins. Yeah. If you are close and you're the Dodgers, I think you owe it to yourself to go after this record. And I'll tell you why. Because you have reached the mountaintop. You've shed that, we can't win a World Series thing in a regular season. So what else is there left to do, right? You got to go out there and try to win games. And sometimes the Dodgers do punt on games. Just ask Dave Roberts in the postseason.
We saw it a few times.
But do you have to punt games when you have this much talent in every single position group?
Yeah.
I don't think you do. Now, the balanced schedule is the one thing that I think of that may be a reason why they wouldn't. Just because
beat on the Rockies every
can't
day?
beat up on the Rockies 19 times and beat up on the SF season finished Giants already. You can't do that. And look, it's going to be box office. Road attendance is going to be number one for this Dodgers team. But I certainly think this team does have the talent. But if you are the Dodgers and you have a chance, let's say, I mean, you mentioned 110, right? Yeah. That team won 111 a couple years ago with a Julio Urias that was okay, Clayton Kershaw that was okay as their frontline guys. Think about this rotation compared to that rotation.
No,
it's a fantasy baseball league and a league of one.
Yeah, when you think about it too, like we were talking about Mookie earlier, like needing some kind of challenge at like his age and everything's accomplished, playing shortstop, kind of feels that way with this too. The Dodgers already got to where they want to be. Exactly. They know what they continue want to do is that's be a dynasty. Dave Roberts said all these guys want to build a dynasty, but it's like during the regular season, you want to stay competitive. You want to keep playing competitive baseball. One way to do that when you're already at the top to win the division is to go after this record. And if you see it, they got to go for it for sure.
And look, you don't mean a thing if you don't win the ring, like Scottie Pippen said. But baseball, you have your murderers row Yankees. You have your late 70s Reds. You have your late 90s, early 2000s Yankees, which I think are the gold standard. Baseball doesn't have its 72 Dolphins. Baseball doesn't have its 96 Bulls. The Dodgers of 2025 could be baseball's version of that gold standard team that you always bring up when mentioning the best teams of all time. Brady doesn't have that many years left of his peak prime. Mookie Betts doesn't have that many years left of his peak prime. If you're going to do it, you do it this year. But then if you lose the postseason, it's why are they going for
or somebody gets hurt down that stretch.
Exactly, right?
No, I mean, I think I'm with Noel. I mean, you kind of said it too. It's like, if this team is at 100 wins with like 25 games to go, they're not going to have anything to play for in the division. That's going to be locked up by then. So then it's like, now are they going to keep playing important baseball? Are they going to rest? I think at that point, you want to play important baseball. I mean, especially if you're going to have that 5-day layoff. Now that's like 30 plus days of not important baseball. So I kind of think you're not going for it on day one. But I think if you're getting into September, early September, even late August, mid-August, and you're like, wait a minute, this is within reach, and this division's 15 games in the wraps already. Now you have something to play for to stay competitive. I think that's when you decide, I think we're going to go for this. But I think, like, obviously right now, it's like that you can't even think about that. But I do agree.
And that's my whole thing, too, is like, do you actually decide to go for it, or do you just have the guys that play for your team that go out there every day?
You just gotta keep playing.
Just keep playing. I mean, like, that's how good they are. They're not really
they're not
govern on anyone.
It's not like they're gonna go into an extra gear.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like we're gonna keep playing, and then of course you have to manage health and everything like that. Like, you're not gonna like leave a starter out there to pitch an 8th inning. Not that I'd do that anyway. But you're not gonna leave a starter pitch that's like pitch a big 7th inning like to try to get that record. I mean, it's kind of those things. But I don't know. I think it's like that's definitely a
It's a dream scenario.
No, I mean, definitely, like you have to get to September to even think about that because
when they lose 16 of 17 or 11 straight, like they did in 2017,
we're gonna be like, why do we even talk about this?
No, it's not even that. I will go back and I will private this video on YouTube and I'll cut out that segment. Is what I will do.
And you're gonna like use AI to change how many wins they're gonna have. 100.
Exactly, 100%. Okay, let's finish this off though with World Series predictions. Who are the Dodgers even going to be in the World Series? I don't know what your predictions are. Who will they play and how many games? Who will win MVP? And most importantly, the most interesting one to me, who will throw that final pitch?
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
I'll give you the floor, Mr. Noah Cameron.
So here's what I'll say. We talked about it a little bit before the show too. The NL is so much more difficult than the AL, where I almost think that similar to last year, the World Series would be an easier matchup for the Dodgers than the NLCS. And in my opinion, the NLDS. You think of with health, the Braves, the Phillies, the Mets, the Diamondbacks, any of these teams are really, really good. With that being said, I do think the Dodgers win the National League. I have the Boston Red Sox winning the American League and what I think is a wide open American League. And I think one big midseason trade from a team could really put them into the running. But I have Dodgers over Red Sox in 5 games. Not going to do a sweep. It's too ballsy to predict a sweep. Dodgers Red Sox in 5 games. I'll start there, and then we'll say our MVPs and our pitch after. So
I love it. Okay, Noah.
Dodgers Red Sox 5 games.
Yeah. I got Dodgers and Houston Astros, the rematch of 2017. I think it would be the perfect way to rewrite everything and get this golden era continued, and for them to get over what we saw in 2017.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's been my dream matchup on this show for months now. Is Dodgers Astros, and look, the thing about the Astros is on paper. Getting Garrett Crochet, getting Alex Bregman for Boston. I like what Boston has done this offseason. Yeah. Yankees having that blow of losing Garrett Cole, guy from our neck of the woods, went to UCLA.
Okay.
And losing him. And look, I think, like you mentioned, I think you're right. I think they're going to trade for Sandy Alcantara. He feels like a Yankee. That would change things for sure.
For sure would change.
Juan Soto's, like you mentioned, on the other New York team. We could see a repeat. Feels like kind of stale and kind of, for some reason, like, why does a Dodgers-Yankees matchup not feel sexy?
Now it feels like boring.
As a rematch, right?
It's because Soto's gone.
Gone.
I mean,
they just clown on the Yankees the whole offseason,
Cody
too.
Bellinger versus the Dodgers.
Cody Bellinger, that'd be a storyline for sure. But the thing about the Houston Astros is we've seen them lose guys. We've seen them lose Springer and Correa. They continue to
Never
win.
matters.
They have won that division 7 straight seasons. Yes, Alex Bregman is on the Red Sox. Yes, you've lost some talent for sure. Kyle Tucker's on the Cubs now. Yep. But you had Isak Paredes. You have Christian Walker. You added Josh Hader.
Cam Smith is going to have a hell of a year.
Cam Smith is a monster. That ballpark is a freak show down there in Houston. And if there's the sexiest matchup on paper, I think they don't have those cast of characters that they do from the trash can banging era. But Dodgers, Astros, I think with feed families, you still have Altuve, the outfielder Altuve. Yeah. And Dodgers, Astros, I got the Dodgers winning I got a sweep. Forget 5.
Wow, that's
Dodgers, Astros. Dodgers sweep the Astros. And you guys have heard my heart says I would like to see Clayton Kershaw, the Dodgers get the final out. But you know what? I'm going to give you the easy pick. Tanner Scott.
Yeah.
Tanner Scott. Like, he is their guy. You got Yordan Alvarez, right? A lefty.
You need a lefty against them.
You got to go lefty.
Yeah, but if it's a sweep, they're probably going to be 9-0 at that point. Maybe I'll do the Ben Kasparius at that point.
Benny C. Or Shohei Otani would be electric.
I mean, here's the thing. If they're going to sweep them, which means they pretty much dominated the series and they're up big, it's almost like, who do you want to have the final out?
Then you throw Kershaw
you go with Kershaw.
Exactly.
2 outs in the 9th, bring in the lefty. Kershaw runs onto the mound. No, I mean, that
absolutely.
Tanner Scott is definitely smart.
It's just it's kind of one of those things. I mean, they brought him in, like you mentioned, the contract. He's their closer for the season. I think that would be incredible. MVP, I got to say Shohei Otani because of what we saw last season.
Especially if he pitches.
Look, like I said, as long as he's hitting and pitching, they get the MVP awards already now. You don't even need to think about it. And the fact that he didn't have a great World Series against the Yankees, just because he was dealing with that injury.
Yeah. Something for him to improve on.
Somebody to kind of to have him motivated to say, okay, like, what can I do? Let's do that. So I got Shohei winning MVP, Dodgers being the trash can bang, kind of getting that demon. We've already exercised that demon last year. Yeah. Let's do it this year and beat the Astros. Who guys your MVP though?
Yeah, MVP, I'm going to go Mookie. I just think kind of Mookie exercised his own demons last postseason.
I like that.
This guy can actually play in the postseason after, it was only 2 bad I mean, it's not like this guy was, it's 2 bad postseasons that really all the Dodgers had. But last year he's kind of proves again that he can play in the postseason. I think it's going to be a very grueling year for Mookie for sure with the shortstop. Again, he already had this illness, all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I think he'll show up in October. And I just see him against the Red Sox, former team. They trade him away. He has an opportunity to really kind of put that final nail in the coffin. That's already one of the worst trades in baseball history. Now he wins a World Series MVP against them. I just think that's an amazing storyline. So I have Mookie Betts winning World Series MVP. And then last final out, again, I think it's a 5-game series. Tanner Scott's an easy answer. I'll go with Blake Trinan. I just think with all the great stuff he's done, he easily could have been the guy this year. He almost was. When you think about, he was already at about 47 pitches, but Doc was using him. So, I just think Blake Trinan ends up being that guy. They love him. He's shown in October, and I just think he'll kind of continue to be that guy. And maybe he then kind of rides off into the sunset after, what's been a really impressive second half of his career with the Dodgers.
The trust level there is at a 10, and that's Doc's guy in those moments. And I love that pick. I just love how fun this is to talk about a team before they start, right? A week in, ask me this.
We can.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
I literally just predicted this team to be the first back-to-back since 2000.
to win 126 games.
A 60 home run season. I didn't even throw out my Blake Snell no-hitter and my team no-hitter bold prediction. But look, all in all, your Los Angeles Dodgers.
We got to get one more over here.
We got to get one more. We're going to him, but MVP for the series, Dodgers, Astros. You got Mr. Noah Sanchez.
Definitely Shohei Otani.
And last out.
Last out as well, but Shohei Otani, definitely MVP. Going out there pitching on the biggest stage in the world. We saw what he did in the WBC when he closed out the game. I don't think he's going to close out the World Series, but he's going to help show Dodger fans that this is a whole new era. Exercise that demon, beat the team that put this fan base in sorrow for a while. And last out, I'm going to go Michael Kopech, throwing heat to close out the series.
I love that one.
I love that. Yeah, no, if he's pitching at that point with the Heat, then you feel really good about this bullpen and the health of this bullpen.
Bullpen is so scary.
They're nasty. They're nasty. This is going to be one of the best teams in baseball history if they're healthy. So enjoy, Dodgers fans. I don't even know if it's fair to call it the golden age of Dodger baseball. We're like in the diamond age, the platinum age. I don't know what it is, but this is 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years from now. It won't feel like this because you're not going to have this collection of talent because these are generational, once in a sport level players on this team at the same time in their absolute primes. And lots of pressure on this team, but I think last year's World Series is going to lead to a relaxed team, believe it or not. But that's going to do it for the first Dodgers Nation roundtable of the season. You can follow Noise by Noel. Check out all of his fire reels. This guy's a social media superstar. Go give him a follow. You know him, you love him. And Noah Cameras. If you're not reading Noah Cameras, you're doing this whole Dodgers fan thing totally wrong. Go read all of his stuff. I know you love his tweets. This guy is really the king of Dodgers Twitter these days. Give him the retweets. Give him the likes. Tell your family to follow him. This guy is Mr. X over here, Noah Cameras, and he's got the blue check too, so he benefits off that for sure. So that's gonna do it. You guys can follow me over at DMAC_LA. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and we are out.